Good afternoon, everyone. So when Ed gave me the title for this presentation, I was slightly concerned that there would be an expectation that I'll need to pull a rabbit out of the hat and give you the solutions that will make all your unviable schemes viable all of a sudden, and it's not quite as simple as that. What I wanted to do, though, was just really think about the themes that I think are going to be relevant in the period ahead. I am under no illusion as to how important viability and cost pressures are in the overall sector backdrop at the moment, and everything in relation to cost pressures historically has always been compensated by sales price inflation. And there's always been a balance to that equation on the viability. We're not in that environment anymore. So cost reduction is clearly all of the day. And there's some elements of cost that are related to regulation, including many of the things that are linked to Future Homes Standard and decarbonisation, environmental protection, and we all know we're doing that for good reason. What we need to really focus on is what is it that's related to the way that we build that creates opportunity for us to do things better. And I just want to talk about three things. Firstly, I've sort of termed it material science and product development, but you could argue that's modern methods of construction, but it's actually, I would say, a little bit more than that. And something close to my heart over the last decade or so, and I think it's really relevant to the continuing journey forward. The second area is workforce competency. So there's been a lot of discussion about competency, primarily related to building safety, but I just want to talk about the implications of that in the linkage to reducing costs. And lastly, I'm going to talk about something that everyone's talking about at the moment, which is AI. And there's a lot of cynicism, perhaps, as to whether it's real or whether we're hyping something up. But I just want to give you my view as to what that potential opportunity is going forward. So starting with this sort of modern approach to how we build, modern methods of production, material innovation, etc. Without wanting to sort of run to stereotype, there's a lot of focus around the labour-intensive trades that we still continue to use on site. And how we can disrupt those in a positive way. This isn't to decry artisan craftsmanship, which quite frankly is what our industry is based on, and it is a great thing. It's a great thing in terms of skills, it's a great thing in terms of the jobs we create, but clearly there's a focus, particularly in a period of resource scarcity and wage inflation, to see if you can do things differently. And what I would just point to, in the last few years, we've seen a big evolution and maturity curve around modern methods, and particularly off-site production. So from a phase when we thought there might be a new modular, volumetric market, that's been and gone. And I think the downturn, the cyclicality in the market has effectively called time on that. Where we've now got to is a position where the maturity profile, including for the majors, is panelisation, including particularly timber framing. What I would say is the development on that is that when you look at the need for masonry, for instance, and this is just an example, you can apply this to other aspects of the build, there's things that are currently being looked at that could be transformative in terms of how we can replicate bricks, handset brick, in a way that actually looks the same, the material science gives the same durability, gives the same adaptability, repairability parameters, etc. And I wouldn't underestimate, if that could be scaled up, what that does in terms of the opportunity to change the labour mix on site, labour intensity, and also overcome some of our skills challenges. Coming to the second point around workforce competency. So competency, as I've said, is already sort of framed mostly around the Building Safety Act. My personal view is competency is much broader than that. It is right across the piece, and it is not just about site tradespeople. So there's a lot of focus around the installers on site. Obviously, Grenfell has brought this to the fore in relation to defective workmanship and some of the problems that accrue from that. But you really have to take it all the way back to the beginning, which is competency is a challenge for everyone. Right at the beginning of the process in terms of clients, all the advisors to those clients, the construction management teams, the supervisors, and then ultimately to the people on site. And my view is that productivity, safety, quality is something that is absolutely correlated to the competency of the whole of the workforce. And you could argue that the senior managers and the more senior people in our process of development actually have disproportionate impact in the ability to influence a better outcome. It's a multiplier effect, if you like. And I'm very much of the opinion that we, including many of the people in this room, we all have an incumbent responsibility to make sure we're skilled in what we do and we keep that dynamically updated because things are changing. If we can't do the role, if we can't client a job properly, if we can't advise around procurement or the commercials, or we can't design a job, or we can't supervise the job on site, then there's no good just blaming the person putting it together at the end. And that has a direct link to cost, because productivity is a function of how efficiently we can build and avoiding waste. And you only have to look at studies like this, which is from the Get It Right initiative, where anecdotally 20% of everything we do in the industry is related to rework and defect rectification. That's a cost. Might not be allowed for in the original viability appraisals, but it bleeds out of profitability of our schemes. Lastly, AI. So I know there's a lot of cynicism around this, and I think no one really knows what's going to happen in the future. But my view is something's coming, and it could be pretty dramatic. And of all of the three themes, I think this is the one that we need to look to as being the biggest opportunity, if we embrace it in the right way and get ahead of the curve, to improve the process efficiency of our industry. So the journey from a client initiating a development through to the end asset being handed over to an occupier or a renter is quite complex in our industry. All of those various bubbles you see there are stakeholders in it. My personal view is that AI and some of the things coming forward are going to absolutely impact on what that looks like going forward. And the areas in red, you probably won't be able to read this, but it's sort of just diagrammatic around the amount of disruption that could be coming, particularly in white-collar work, in knowledge economy-based roles, and what the byword's going to be, disintermediation. Cutting out non-value add. If you don't have a value to bring to the value chain, then you're going to get found out through technology. And I think this is something that is significant. And also, this is not just knowledge economy, white-collar jobs. This will also implicate on how we do stuff on site. Digital construction tools on site are coming, and I think they're going to improve quality, supervision, efficiency of how we deliver, so it's not just about off-site. And why this is important, this is a study that I show a lot, and I think it's the good summing up slide of radical cost reduction. Every pound spent in construction, only 50 pence of it is the actual net final product that you see. The other 50% is stuff. It's fees, it's transactional waste, overheads and profit on overheads and profit, and that's what we need to go after, because that's the way that we're going to reduce cost without actually reducing the quality or just beating up the supply chain or doing things that actually squeeze margin. Thank you.